Hello, viewers. Thank you for joining Dataquest. As we all know, customer experience became one of the primary factors for consumers that were looking for different kinds of services. On the other hand, the companies also came out with innovative initiatives to offer superior customer experience. However, life is now going back to normal. But the consumers, on the other hand, have gotten used to the customer experience that was being offered over the past 2 years. So how is this factor now playing out for companies? To speak more on this, we have with us today Mr. Ayan Day. He's the CTO of Exide Life Insurance. Welcome, Ayan. Thank you so much for joining us here today. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you. It's an absolute honor to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayan. We appreciate you taking time out for us. So, Ayan, like I mentioned, the pandemic was extremely tough for for companies across different verticals. So what were some of the challenges that you faced when it came to customer experiences and your customers?
So Supriya, I represent an industry which basically has a product, which is, first of all, it is a B2C kind of a product. We sell mostly to individuals, while we have our group insurance products, but primarily we are a B2C kind of, we have a structure. Now, when we look at that and the product in itself, it's a complex product. It's a product where you need a lot of engagement actually. So all of us, we would have had this experience of buying a insurance policy at some point of time. And you would remember that, the kind of engagement, the deep engagement with your age, highly complex product, I would say. The second thing to keep note is that when you take a life insurance policy, for example, it's a financial decision in your life for you as well as for your family. And this is a decision where you are getting engaged for the next 15 to 20 years. It's a financial commitment that you are making. Now, when you do that, it is slightly different than buying a milk bottle from Amazon or booking a ride on Uber, or maybe just watching a movie on Netflix. So it's a much more engaged process when you compare with many more other parallels that we typically draw. But when that happens, you always had in this industry somebody in person, a physical presence to guide the customer through this entire complexity of the product, the offerings, and what exactly it means from a future standpoint. Now, come to March 2020, when all of this happened, and suddenly overnight the entire industry realized that neither the customers are comfortable in meeting the advisors in person, nor as an organization we could actually pitch our advisors to go out in the market. So the entire both the sales and the service piece completely turned around on its head overnight. And this was the biggest challenge. See, again, we have to understand the product that we are talking about. It is not a tangible product. It is not like a pack of toothpaste where you can actually see and you can compare. It is something which you have to understand. Now, for this to happen, this was the most difficult bridge that we had to cross. And we realized, the industry realized, that unless we find out some ways to cross this bridge, it is going to be very difficult to even stay afloat. So I would say within 1 month's time, while most of the industry was already, on the digitalization platform already, there were a lot of things happening, but many of these things were still in the POC process, proof of concept, as we say, or for example, these were part of some lab engagement that we were doing, and we were just experimenting with some thoughts. We were not really pushing it to the commercial mainstream. Now, once this happened, everything had to be pushed. It was almost like getting into a war. So we all understand that in such situations, all of these experiments then immediately see the day of the light, and then finally we moved ahead. And within 6 months, the entire industry actually was in a situation where the advisor's office was carried in his mobile phone. So if you ask me today, my entire sales process and my servicing process, every single thing is now digitalized. So other day we were having a conversation. We were, doing some kind of an assessment of where we had started 18 months back and where we have reached till now. And you might have heard about this, concept called phygital, which has been going around for the last. So physically present along with digital. So I was actually looking at the processes where we still follow a phygital, structure. Now, I was personally surprised that as a team, we could hardly, figure out processes which are still left in the physical domain. So just move across and we have ensured everything is now on digital. So the most difficult part was getting the customer engagement done, ensuring that the customer actually adopts to this, form of engagement. And sort of we typically engage from generation Z, that is up to 23, 24 years, to maybe people who are looking for pensions. So whether all generations will come and adapt this new form of engagement with an insurer. Thankfully, everything was achieved, and it was done brilliantly because of the overall ecosystem that we today find ourselves in, and today we are in. So this is like business as usual for us.
That's great to know, Ayan. Thank you for explaining it in such a simple manner. So Ayan, you mentioned many experimentations that you had to do, right, to offer superior customer experience. So what were some of the initiatives that you introduced during the pandemic that you now cannot do without, which has now become the norm for customers?
So we are in the business of taking risks. We take risks on life, right? And unfortunately, one part of our entire process is fraught with frauds. Actually, we are unfortunately we face a lot of such frauds in the industry. When we realize that the agent is not in a position to physically go and meet the customer, we were actually sort of stuck there, because we have seen situations where possibly even not a live person has been put up as somebody as a customer, and then his photograph has been sent, and we have ended up selling a policy. Only after 3 days we get to know that that's actually a dead person, dead individual. So we came up with some nifty things. For example, on the app itself, where we are engaging with the customer has to blink, and the moment he blinks, the app will actually capture his selfie while the agent is sitting on the other side. So these were basically the needs of the hour, and no matter what you do, you cannot make a dead person blink. So just an example. Or for example, we are all aware that these are all financial transactions where at the end of the day we finally sign a document, right? The proposal form that we, in our parlance, that we call. Now, for all these years, this was mandatory. A wet signature had to be done. Now, given the situation, we got some exemplary support from the regulator as well, and they accepted the industry's options that were presented. And today we actually don't ask the customer to actually sign something, the physical paper and pen signature. So we have come up with two different options. Either you can actually scroll your signature on the face of your mobile phone if your mobile phone is a smartphone. Otherwise, there is also an OTP based authentication mechanism if you are not using let's say a smartphone. And the regulator has actually agreed to go ahead with these two options instead of a wet signature. So again, this was something which maybe if the pandemic had not happened, maybe this we would not have seen the light of the day for these situations. Then again, insurance being a difficult product to sell, I'll come back to this again and again because it is actually such a case. An agent who gets into this industry, he needs a lot of time to come up the curve and understand the product and the art of selling a non-tangible product. So many a times we have seen that when he is at the customer's location or when he's engaging with the customer, he needs a lot of support from his manager or from the contact center, somebody in back office or something like that, to explain the nuances of the product and the claims and things like that. Now, when this situation happened, that the agent himself was not able to go and talk to the customer, we came up with a solution where when the agent is actually engaging with the customer at that point itself, the agent can actually see what the customer is looking at his own mobile screen. It is not a camera. The agent can actually see how the customer's mobile screen is looking like. And if he needs more support, he can actually rope in his manager in the same call, and his manager can also look at the customer screen and guide the agent and the manager that this is the meaning of this particular field. This is how you'll have to fill it up. Similarly, the third person, which is my contact center executive sitting in my back office, even he can be looped into this call. So now you can see that three different individuals from three different perspectives, they are looking at the customer screen, and they are actually helping the customer, to write that entire journey. Because insurance, typically, you can understand there are 4 or 5 pages to the form, and there are so many complex questions. Normal people will not really relate to those questions. We came up with such nifty solutions, and we say, I'm proud to be, announcing this, that it's not only Exide Life, but almost the entire industry went forward. And today, if you ask me, insurance, which was one of the laggards in adapting to the modern technology, because we come from such a, I would say, the word orthodox is a little too much, but we had our own ways and processes. But we have adapted to this new ways of doing business so well that now today entire BFSI looks at insurance at how you guys have gone ahead. So that's been the turnaround story for the industry, in fact.
Thanks, Ayan. I mean, it's truly been heartening to see the insurance industry overcome the legacy challenges to come out with all these new innovations. It's, this has come across almost every interview that I've had with the, insurance players. So Ayan, you mentioned all this, right? What are some of the customer experience trends, that you will look forward to, that we can look forward to in the post-pandemic scenario?
So I was actually chatting with some of my industry counterparts, and I think the common view which is emerging right now, if you ask me, is that it's only upwards and onwards from here. So whatever we have built, all the digital assets that have been built because of the necessity of the war in which we were, I always use it because that's exactly how it was. This is now to be used for more commercial expansion, and now this will definitely form the foundation stone for further digital exploration in the future. Certain areas where we are looking at definitely is the customer expectation. Now, as I mentioned that a normal customer, and there have been enough number of studies that a typical customer, when he looks at his mobile phone, for example, his psychology is expecting a response or a solution across applications. At times, he doesn't realize that when he's possibly buying an insurance policy, for example, or doing a banking transaction that is a much more serious in nature as compared to watching a Netflix movie on demand, or booking a cab through Uber. Now, this is something which is very unique because this is the age of instant gratification, and that is how the customer's mind and psyche is being driven. So what we are trying to do in the industry here is move most of our heavy duty, I would say, decision making on the apps towards the edge. Earlier, what would happen was that you would pick up the information and the data points from the customer, bring it back to the center, apply your algorithms, do your underwriting, risk assessment, and everything, and then you again send back your decisions and all that. This was the traditional way of doing things. Now, what we are now moving towards is that bring some of these parts to the customer's device, to the location where the customer is sitting. Can I do some basic underwriting there itself? Can I do some basic evaluation there itself? Can I guide my customer to immediately provide me some specific documents which my manual underwriter would have asked for at a later point of time? Can I make this entire journey, compressed into, let's say, 1/4 of what it used to take place earlier? So we all know that when we go for a life insurance policy, there would be, follow-up questions, there would be requests for follow-up documents and things like that. Why can't I make that happen right away? The other thing which is getting discussed today is another aspect of the customers, I would say, psych involved here is basically, we all think that data privacy is something which people have to be very careful about, and we are hearing our own version of the data privacy laws are just around the corner. But something very interesting that is emerging is my average customer is willing to actually share more and more data with me, given I can actually provide him customized service, and I can give him specific products which is well suited, well tailored only for his requirement. So now what we are talking about is then getting the right data points, getting it upfront, doing the right predictive analytics on top of this, and then creating those customer personas, and then giving him the right specific services which are only tailor-made for him. Now, these are certain things which are emerging not only from what we are seeing in the insurance industry, but we are actually scouting the entire ecosystem. How the entire digital ecosystem across industries is spanning, and how we as a player within this ecosystem can actually harvest this entire opportunity that presents itself. So we are looking in a slightly broader way. We are moving out of just the insurance or the financial domain, and we are trying to sort of crystal gaze into the customer's mind and see what he's really expecting. And that, I believe, is going to be the true differentiator in the times to come.
Yeah, that's great, Ayan. I mean, and thank you for that very unique and honest take on data privacy. That's something I've never heard before. So Ayan, in the pandemic, there's also been an influx of new age technologies, right? We used to talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning and, data analytics and things like that. But that adoption of these technologies have accelerated over the pandemic. So how are these new age technologies impacting the business of customer experience?
So a few things where we have really found, a lot of, I would say, traction, and there have been some wow factors also involved in this. For example, in the areas of voice technologies, the artificial intelligence backed smart voice technologies. So we have seen that over the last 4 or 5 years, especially in our industry, customers would get a renewal call. So whenever the renewal premium is due the next year, typically a call would go from the insurer to the customer, reminding him that, sir, madam, your renewal premium is due. And in fact, this was one of the areas that was first picked up for automation through the voice bots. And this was done almost, I remember almost 4 to 5 years back. But over a period of time, we realized that some segment of our customers, they somehow have still not started relating very well to, I would say, a machine engineered voice on the other side. So human beings, we typically, the moment we pick up the phone, within 2 seconds, we understand that whether this is a machine talking to us from the other side, or is this actual human being. Now, we realize that this is something which is possibly for a certain segment of customers is not happening well. Another use case is that we also understand from our long experiences in fraud handling that, with whatever documents you have, you may have tons of documents from the customer, but just a 15 seconds voice clip from him with enough, AI-backed machine learning on enough number of cases, we are actually able to point out whether this is going to be a potential fraud or not, instead of scanning through piles of documents. Now, these two use cases are very unique use cases. In the first one, for example, today, let's say I am driving in a certain city and I get a call from my insurer that, sir, your renewal premium is due, and maybe I'm focused on my driving. I don't want to get engaged into a serious conversation at this point of time. I might just say, sorry, I'm driving. Let's have this conversation next week or whatever date it's there in my mind. Now, this bot is now an AI-backed bot. First of all, the voice is a humanoid voice. So you will not really understand that this is a machine voice. And then this bot actually responds saying that, sir, ma'am, please focus, rain is expected in your city, or the traffic is not great in your city. Please focus on your driving right now. We wish you well. We will connect back after some time. Before the customer himself saying so, immediately the element of empathy is triggered in the customer. Customer realizes, yes, this is one organization which is truly thinking about me. And the next time the call goes, he is in a different frame of mind. He's in a very positive frame of mind to take the call, have a further discussion. And you never know, this might even open up avenues and options for a cross-sell. The second use case, where there is a fraud detection piece in motion, we have actually seen that a certain way, the tonality, the diction, the way the words are being presented, all of those things put together in a voice clip of 15 seconds to 20 seconds is giving us almost a 60% accurate pointer whether this is a potential fraud case or not. Now imagine this is ours is an industry which keeps on bleeding on fraud cases. I mean, this is a pan-industry problem across the globe. So if we have something which this might sound a little futuristic, but this is actually happening. When talking about this, another use case immediately comes to my mind is face recognition technologies. Now, all of this we watch in sci-fi movies and all that, but very soon when you send your or you walk into an insurance office in a branch, they might just scan your face, and in case you are eligible for a claim payment, that itself takes care of most of the verification and the validation that is required. So some of these futuristic technologies are now being picked up for a more commercial drive, and we are seeing more and more traction happening there, because the best part is the customer today is also growing up in the same ecosystem where the insurers are located. So 5 years, 6 years back, 7 years back, digital payments, or payments through links, or websites which easily open up on your mobile phone, or for example WhatsApp bots. Now they have simply metamorphosed the entire servicing industry. Now, all of these things are coming together and making the entire ecosystem a very, very attractive place for us to play with the new technologies.
Thank you, Ayan. So Ayan, you've already mentioned quite a few initiatives that your company has taken. So if I had to ask you, which are the top initiatives that you introduced during this pandemic period to offer superior experience, what would you have to say to us?
To be honest, the primary focus and the topmost, I would say, priority was on the selling part of it. Because we all realized very quickly that unless we equip our field guys with the right tools, it will be very difficult. Because let's say there are 7 steps in that entire process of selling a policy to a customer. Out of 7, if I have solved, let's say, 5 steps, it still means that for 2 steps I will have to connect physically. It doesn't really solve my problem. So I had to ensure that all my 6 or 7 steps, every single thing had to be taken care of, and it had to be a completely digital process without an exception. So there, I think we can proudly say that this year I think we will be closing almost 100% of our cases on the digital platform, almost 100, barring a few which, because of the feel good factor we had in March, Omicron behind us, there might be some decimal points coming in right at the last moment. Otherwise, like us, the entire industry is also in 90+ situation, but we are close to 100, and that has been our focus. And can you believe it, that even with this new platform, which has completely turned the industry around its head, from a position where the industry has been operating for the last 500 years. Now, this is one of the oldest industries, right? Uh, from there, we have completely turned it on its head. And still, this year, we are poised to break all records for our company in the last 21 years. That can be sales, that can be service. So that talks volumes about the adoption. That talks volumes about, the comfort level across, across the society in general. Because all of us, our agents, our customers, you, me, everyone comes from the same society. Unless every single part of the society is comfortable, you will not be successful in driving to such an extent.
That's great to know, Ayan. So, Ayan, are there any final comments that you would like to add, which I may have missed out?
So, I think the industry is well poised to start from here, and I'm happy to actually see the indicators when I talk to my technology counterparts in the technology industry. Earlier, insurance always used to be made to sit in the last line, because people used to think that, okay, these guys will not look at technology to that extent. But today, I'm happy to note that technology is, taking serious note of the insurance industry. In fact, there are some companies which actually say that they are born in the cloud. They are actually, they call themselves the Generation Z companies, basically. Now, they are the ones who say that we are insurance companies later, we are a technology company first. That has been the extent to which this industry is moving forward. Lemonade, one of the most widely spoken about names in the industry globally. I was surprised the other day when I realized that Lemonade is not listed as an insurance company. And I was really surprised. Lemonade is listed as a public service company. So their model is completely different. You may just look up Google and you'll find some very, very interesting aspects about how Lemonade does business. And they have been setting benchmarks for all insurers across the globe. But that is how the industry is sort of reinventing itself. And in India, there has been a lot of excitement around this. COVID definitely has played the role of the accelerator. And today, I am almost sure that what we are seeing are just the foundation stones, because data is one area where insurers are still sort of figuring out how to use it in the best possible way, because we have been gathering data for the last 20-25 years, but unfortunately they have been in silos, and we are trying to bring all of that together to make a meaningful structure out of it, and then create better personas of our customers. Predictive analytics is something which most of the insurers are actually now experimenting with. A lot of us have actually moved forward in the commercial space. Predictive analytics now forms a part of our product distribution and service operations. And finally, most insurers have understood that technology is possibly more to do with thinking forward rather than owning the assets. Now, that is something which I'm clearly seeing. So this move towards cloud, now that was always a taboo item for the industry. We got a good push from the regulator, and we also got the right pointers towards it. That is making all of this possible. So possibly, after 5 years, when you are meeting another CTO in the insurance industry, again, I'm crystal gazing. Sometimes I get into it. Possibly, you will realize that he will admit that he does not own a single asset. Everything is a service. So today we say software as a service. At that point of time, he might say that IT as a service. He just needs to put his thoughts forward and get these assets and tools to work for it. I truly believe the industry is moving towards that direction.
Thank you so much, Ayan. It was a pleasure talking to you, and you've given so many unique insights. For our viewers to believe that insurance industry is no longer that technology, agnostic space.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
It was truly heartening to listen to everything that you had to say, and we appreciate you taking time out to talk to us, and our viewers will truly appreciate it. Thank you.
It was a pleasure, Supriya. It was absolutely good to be here. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Ayan. Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you.